While crying, a mysterious old woman came to comfort her. She told the old woman her plight. With a knowing smile, the old woman handed her a small box, urging her to open it. Inside was a cloth with an ancient inscription. Copy this onto a fashion item of your choice, the old woman said. Wear it, then hide away for 7 days. While in hiding, imagine what beauty looks like to you. Kindly like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Once upon a time, there lived a young woman called Bayie. Bayie's life was marked by struggles. Born the fifth of 7 children to a poor family, they lived in a small hut at the outskirts of the village and lived on a small farm. Though poor, she was always optimistic about a better life ahead of her. This wishful thinking was always met with scolding and mocking from her family. One day, the village erupted in excitement as the royal announcer declared a competition to find a wife for the king. All young maidens were eligible. Upon hearing this, she knew this was her chance to change her fortunes. She quickly went to inform her family. Her family, ever doubtful, discouraged her, yet she insisted, so they allowed her to join. Days later, the competition started. Maidens, great and small, from all parts of the village were assembled. The rules were that all identities were kept anonymous until final stage, and whoever did not make the cutoff was eliminated from the competition. The competition was grueling, with maidens showcasing their skills in basketry, beading, cooking, singing and dancing, poetry and riddles as well. Bayie excelled in everything. She captured the hearts of the people. What impressed them most about her was her mastery in sword fighting, hunting, and archery, which most maidens feared to even attempt. By the 20th day of the competition, they were required to reveal their identity to the groomers, one after the other, and when she did, there was a collective gasp. Contrary to their expectation, they saw scars on her body. They saw it as a blemish on her beauty. The chief groomer consulted the elders in charge. They instantly eliminated her from the competition, declaring her unfit to marry a king. Sad, Bayie fled the palace with her dreams shattered. She went and sat by a riverside and cried till sunset. While crying, a mysterious old woman came to comfort her. She told the woman her plight. With a knowing smile, the old woman handed her a small box, urging her to open it. Inside was a cloth with an ancient inscription. Copy this onto a fashion item of your choice, the old woman said. Wear it, then hide away for 7 days. While in hiding, imagine what beauty looks like to you. On the 7th day, you will awaken as you have envisioned. Repeat it every year, but be warned, no human eyes must see the cloth, or a great price will be paid. And if anyone does, only your 8th generation can use it. She vanished into thin air. On the 10th day, the grand durbar in which the king would choose the wife had started. Kings and dignitaries around the world had gathered. The last 2 women left in the competition were unveiled. As the king was about to make a choice, a beautiful woman walked in graciously, enchanting all and sundry. To their surprise, it was Bayie. This time, she was unrecognizable. The scars that once marred her skin had vanished. Her skin shimmered like the morning sun, and skin smooth and flawless like a newborn. The king, delighted by her beauty and grace, instantly chose her. The king loved everything about her, her charisma, demeanor, intellect, but most especially her goddess-like beauty. With time, Bayie became not just the king's wife, but his most trusted advisor. He would consult her on all matters, sidelining his elders, much to their displeasure. Two of the king's most powerful counselors, Opanyi Obotan and Opanyi Mensah, grew suspicious. They started to investigate her. They found out about her abrupt transformation. Determined to uncover the source of her transformation, they planted a young maid named Ajua in her chambers, whom they promised pieces of gold if she brought them the secret. Ajua, young and clever, slowly gained Bayie's trust. As the years passed, she reminded the queen of her own younger poor self. Bayie grew fond of the girl and took her along everywhere she went. Over the years, Ajua noticed the one item Bayie never removed, a peculiar beaded necklace with an odd inscription. She also observed how Bayie would travel for 7 days each year without a maid or a guard to an unknown location, returning more radiant than ever. Piecing all this together, she concluded that might be the secret to her beauty. One fateful day, the queen opened up to her about her beauty secret. She showed her the box, which contained the cloth with the inscription. With that, Ajua quickly rushed to inform Opanyi Obotan and Mensah. One day, she drugged the queen, stole the box, and replaced it with a counterfeit. The next morning, Bayie was summoned for an emergency meeting. There stood Opanyi Obotan and Mensah, who accused her of using sorcery to ensnare the king's love. Defiantly, Bayie denied the charges, defending herself that it was all a plot to ruin her reputation. They suddenly brought out the little box and opened it, removing the cloth. Suddenly, the cloth disintegrated into an unrecognizable pieces and disappeared with the box. Instantly, her beauty faded, her scars reappearing, her skin becoming coarse and weathered. The king, disappointed and disgusted, ordered her immediate execution. Bayie pleaded, reminding him of their love and her good intentions, but he remained unmoved. She was bound and buried alive at a forest far from the village. Her legacy was wiped from history. All her close servants, including Ajua, were executed as co-conspirators. Even her family members were executed. Only her children were spared death, but they were exiled. On their way to the exile, the box reappeared before them, tightly sealed and marked, until the 8th generation. They took the box along in their journey, passing it on from generations to generations. Many years later, a young woman called Poma, the 8th descendant of Bayie, stood by her mother's grave, feeling helpless and hopeless. She was now an orphan, with no inheritance, and barely enough to feed on. In her despair, hope surfaced. Poma remembered the tale her mother told her about Bayie. She rushed home in search of the box her mother had hidden. After days of relentless searching, she found it. She opened the box and found the cloth inside, torn and fragmented like a puzzle. For 40 days and nights, Poma carefully pieced them together. When the final piece slid into place, the inscription became visible. She spent the whole night thinking of what to do with it. Then she had a brilliant idea. She traveled to the kingdom of Susuka. Susuka is a very prosperous and big kingdom with 10 villages under it. The kingdom was known to be the biggest center for commerce. Thus, a lot of people traveled far and wide to trade. She went and sought audience with a rich woman called Obapa Dufie. Obapa Dufie reigned supreme in the world of beauty products. She was a woman of power and influence. She had a lot of workers who worked for her. Her products were sold throughout the village. Women patronized her products because of how effective they were. She had a reputation people admired and feared. She was a widow and had married twice, but both men died mysteriously. She was a widow and had married twice, but both men died mysteriously. Some believed she poisoned her husbands so that she can keep their riches. Poma approached Dufie with a proposition. I possess a secret that can make every woman's beauty dream come true, but I need your partnership, she said confidently. Dufie, skeptical, smiled, but allowed Poma to prove her claim. She gave Poma a maid with severe burn scars and challenged her to remove them. 8 days later, the maid returned, her skin smooth and flawless. Impressed, Obapa agreed to a partnership. Together, they created the beauty secret bracelets, inscribing each one with the ancient markings. At first, the women did not believe it. A bald woman, wishing for a voluminous hair, was the first to try. When she emerged from her 10 days hiding with voluminous hair, the demand for the bracelet started. They opened a big beauty camp where customers paid 20 cowries to make their beauty dreams come true. As the days went by, the news spread like wildfire. Women from all over the kingdom flocked in to buy them, eager to transform themselves. Within a year, half of the women in the kingdom wore the beauty secret bracelet. Poma grew wealthy and influential beyond her wildest dreams. But as the price of the bracelet rose, so did their desperation. Some women in their desperation to keep up with their beauty resorted to vices like stealing, lying, and borrowing. Some even cheated on their spouses in order to afford the bracelet. A certain woman in the village, called Enima, had sold all her prized items just to keep up with her beauty. As the time for her annual renewal approached, Enima found herself without money to afford it. Her husband loved her so much. Anxious, one night, she decided to confess. To her surprise, he was onboarded, assuring her that his love for her was unconditional, regardless of her appearance. The day of the renewal arrived, but she decided not to go to the beauty camp. Days later, While having a meal with her husband, her youthful appearance began to fade. The bracelet disappeared, revealing her true older self. Yet, her husband remained calm, undisturbed by the transformation. Their lives continued as usual. However, not every household shared their peace. Chaos erupted throughout the kingdom as other women who couldn't afford the renewal began to revert to their natural appearances. Unlike Enima, many were met with scorn, mockery, and even violence from their husbands and families. Tragedy struck when Boatima was found dead. Days later, another woman, also a customer of Beauty Secret, was discovered dead. This mysterious death sparked rumors. Pomar and Dufie were accused of killing women who abandoned Beauty Secret. The news reached Pomar. Terrified, Pomar confronted Dufie, who vehemently denied any involvement. Desperate for answers, they consulted a diviner who revealed the truth. Baye's spirit had been awakened, vengeful and angry, punishing those who failed to renew every year. On their way home, Dufie reasoned that it was good for them. This would ensure no one ever abandoned Beauty Secrets again. But Pomar was filled with guilt. This wasn't the outcome she had ever imagined. She began to see the destruction the product has caused around her. Women dying, families torn apart, and those who had once been beautiful now facing divorce, death, and disgrace. Determined to end the mysterious deaths, she went back to the diviner, who told her to put an end to it. Pomar had to retrieve Baye's remains and give her a proper burial. A few days later, she embarked on her quest. The diviner gave her a concoction that gave her visions of the path to the remains. Pomar traveled across mountains, villages, and rivers. Though weary, she pressed forward, undaunted to complete her mission. Meanwhile, the chaos caused by the Beauty Secret continued to spread across the land. An elderly woman, troubled by the escalating danger, went to the queen to voice her concerns. The queen, alarmed, took the matter to the king, who immediately called an emergency meeting with his council of elders. They summoned Obapa Dufie, who explained the origin of the Beauty Secret bracelet. The court unanimously decided to ban the use of the bracelet. As they deliberated, Pomar appeared before them, exhausted but resolute, announcing that she had exhumed Baye's body and put her to rest. She assured them that the death would cease. Upon hearing the news, the council divided, some arguing that as long as it remained affordable, safe and effective, and brought happiness to the people, it should continue to be available. Others contended that true beauty could only be found in self-acceptance, self-confidence, and good health. The king listened to both sides intently, his face unreadable. After a moment of silence, he announced that he would give his final verdict the next day. Who do you think won?